She wasn't stupid, and she wasn't reckless. She wasn't chasing money, she wasn't looking for shortcuts, and she definitely wasn't looking for trouble. She had what most people would call a normal life, a routine, a steady job, friends who trusted her judgment, people who came to her when they needed advice. For years, she believed scams happened to other people, to the careless, to the desperate, to the ones who ignored obvious warning signs. Not to someone like her. But that belief didn't collapse all at once. It cracked slowly, quietly, almost politely. In less than a few weeks, small things began to change. Her sleep, her focus, the way she checked her phone before she checked her surroundings. Nothing dramatic happened at first. No alarms, no threats, no sudden demands for money. Just conversations, long ones, late at night, about life, about loneliness, about feeling invisible in a world that never stops scrolling. He didn't force her to do anything. He didn't pressure her. He never raised his voice. He never rushed her decisions. If anything, he made her feel calm, seen, understood, chosen. And that's the part most people fail to understand, because the most dangerous lies don't arrive with violence. They arrive with comfort. They don't sound like lies at all. They sound like love. Love has always made people irrational. It lowers our defenses. It makes us vulnerable. But in the 21st century, something changed. Love didn't disappear. It didn't lose its power. It evolved. It became optimized. We live in an age of digital loneliness. Millions of people, constantly connected, yet increasingly alone. Endless profiles, endless options, an infinite scroll of faces, names, and carefully selected smiles. A swipe left, a swipe right, judgments made in seconds, sometimes less. We scroll through human beings the same way we scroll through products, shoes, phones, apartments, potential partners. Connection became efficient, fast, convenient, disposable. Intimacy became transactional. We don't ask, "Who is this person?" We ask, "How does this person make me feel?" And in that space, between loneliness and desire, between attention and validation, a dangerous opportunity appears. Because when something becomes a marketplace, someone will always learn how to exploit it. Especially when people aren't looking for money. They're looking for meaning, for attention, for proof that they matter. That's when he appeared. Or, more accurately, that's when the version of him she was meant to see appeared. His name was Simon Leviev. At least, that's what he told her. He didn't just have money. He had access. Access to places most people only see through screens. Private jets, five-star hotels, meetings in cities people dream about but rarely visit. But what made it convincing wasn't the money. It was the way he never talked about it. He never tried to prove that he was rich. He let the lifestyle do that work for him. Nothing felt staged. Nothing felt exaggerated. There were no red flags that screamed danger. Only comfort, consistency, attention. He listened more than he talked. He remembered things she barely remembered saying. Her favorite food, her childhood stories, her fears, her insecurities. He didn't make her feel impressed. He made her feel important. Like she wasn't just another match, not another profile, not another option, but someone chosen. This wasn't just dating, it was immersion, an invitation into a world where money wasn't a problem. Time felt unlimited, and consequences didn't seem to exist. And once you step inside a fantasy like that, reality starts to feel negotiable. There is a moment in stories like this that most people misunderstand. They think the scam begins when money is mentioned. It doesn't. It begins much earlier. It begins with the notification sound. Messages arrive constantly. "I miss you. I've never felt this way before. You are the one." Voice notes sent from 30,000 feet in the air. Videos showing a life that seems too detailed to be fake. There is no space to miss him, no time to reflect, no silence to think clearly. Plans appear quickly, too quickly. Moving in together after 2 weeks. Planning names for children after a month. Most healthy relationships develop slowly. Trust is built through time, conflict, and patience. But Simon accelerated everything, not to build love, but to build dependence. This technique has a name: love bombing. It feels intoxicating, but its real purpose is control. Because when your emotional world starts to orbit one person, your judgment slowly disconnects from reality. Then comes the moment that changes everything. It doesn't arrive with a warning, it arrives with a video, a bodyguard, bleeding, injured in an attack. The tone shifts instantly. The fairy tale turns into a thriller. My enemies are watching. They found me. I'm not safe anymore. Fear is powerful, but urgency is blinding. He sends voice notes, screaming, panicking, making her feel like she is the only person in the world who can save him. Questions start to feel dangerous. Silence feels irresponsible. And in the middle of that chaos, he introduces the problem. For security reasons, he says. His cards are blocked. His accounts are frozen. He cannot leave a digital trail. He doesn't ask for help directly. He explains why he can't use his own billions. And somehow, in the heat of that moment, it starts to make sense. Because fear narrows the mind, and urgency rewrites logic. She hesitates, but only for a second. She sends the money. First cash, then credit cards, then loans. And to keep her calm, he sends proof of repayment. Wire transfer documents, detailed receipts, showing millions of dollars moving into her account. They looked perfect. Official logos, correct dates, transaction codes. He would say, "It's an international transfer, my love, it takes time." But manipulation doesn't look like force. It looks like administrative delay. She checks her bank account every hour, refreshing, refreshing, refreshing. But the money never arrives. Not tomorrow, not next week, not ever. What she didn't know was that she wasn't alone. Not even close. There were others. Different cities, different countries, different lives. But the same messages, the same promises, the same emergencies. Simon wasn't dating one woman. He was dating a system. Money from one woman paid for flights to impress the next. One illusion financed another. A closed loop, perfectly timed, perfectly hidden. This wasn't romance, it was logistics. A Ponzi scheme, not built on investors, but on emotions. Affection became currency. Trust became collateral. Every private jet photo was proof that someone else had already paid the price. Every luxury dinner was funded by another broken future. He never needed to escape. The system protected him. As long as new victims entered, old victims stayed silent, because shame is a powerful prison. Every system fails not because it is exposed, but because it becomes careless. Simon made one mistake. He underestimated his victims. He believed shame would keep them silent. He believed fear would keep them isolated. He was wrong. One woman spoke up, then another, then another. Their stories were different, but the patterns were identical. The messages, the emergencies, the money. Journalists followed the trail. Bank records, flight histories, phone logs. Slowly, the illusion began to crack. The Prince of Diamonds became a headline. His face spread across screens. And once the fantasy was exposed to daylight, it couldn't survive. Then came the reversal. Not from the police, not from the banks, but from the only person left beside him, Eileen Charlotte. When she saw the article exposing him as a fraud, she didn't scream. She didn't confront him immediately. She calculated. By then, Simon was desperate. The King of Diamonds was broke, eating leftovers in mall food courts, sleeping in cheap hostels. He needed cash, fast. So Eileen made him an offer. "Send me your designer clothes," she said. "I'll sell them. I'll get you the money." He sent everything. Suitcases full of Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton, his armor, his identity. She sold it all on eBay, and she kept every single dollar. The voice notes changed. The charming prince was gone, replaced by a pathetic, screaming child. "Eileen, you are stealing from me! I need that money! My enemies will kill me!" For the first time, Simon wasn't the one holding the strings. He was the puppet. It wasn't just revenge, it was poetic justice. The scammer got scammed. Without the money, without the cards, without the illusion, the prince disappeared. There were no private jets anymore, no luxury hotels, no bodyguards, just a man running out of places to hide. He moved constantly, cheap flights, cheaper rooms, different names, different passports. The lifestyle collapsed, but the lies continued. Because when you live inside a fantasy long enough, reality becomes optional. In the end, it wasn't international agencies that caught him. It wasn't a coordinated manhunt. It was information, a phone call, a tip, a moment of exposure. He was arrested at an airport, using a fake passport. No cameras, no dramatic chase, just handcuffs and silence. This is where the story should have ended, with accountability, with consequences, with justice. But that's not what happened. Simon was sentenced to 15 months in prison. He served 5 months for millions stolen, 5 months for lives financially destroyed, 5 months for years of trauma. And when he walked free, there were no apologies, no repayments, no restitution. He didn't disappear. He didn't hide. He reinvented himself. New clothes, new cities, new girlfriends, new followers. He posted his life online. Luxury cars, exclusive parties, paid appearances. Meanwhile, the victims were left behind, still paying off loans, still fighting banks, still rebuilding trust in themselves. This wasn't a failure of intelligence, it was a failure of systems. Stories like this are easy to judge from the outside. It's easy to ask, how could anyone fall for this? But manipulation doesn't target stupidity. It targets trust, empathy, loneliness, the desire to be chosen. The Tinder Swindler didn't hack bank accounts. He hacked people. He exploited something we all share, the need to feel special, to feel seen, to believe that love will eventually find us. The lesson is not, don't trust anyone. It's slower. It's quieter. When trust is being rushed, slow down. When someone creates urgency around money, step back. Real relationships don't demand panic, and real love doesn't grow in fear. This is Dark Focus. We tell these stories not to scare you, but to sharpen awareness. If this story made you uncomfortable, that's a good thing. It means you were paying attention. If you value stories about deception, psychology, and the darker side of human behavior, consider subscribing to Dark Focus, because the next story might help you see what others miss. Stay focused. Stay aware.